welcome back to season 3. And
Good morning, afternoon, and evening to our listeners across the globe. Welcome to In 12D. We're in season 3. Oh my God, time flies. Episode 24. And today we have an awesome guest with us, Pat Falvey. But in the studio with me is my co host, Susie Vaughn. Susie?
hey, Ramsey, it's good to be back. I'm starting off season 3 with an amazing guest. I can't wait to introduce you guys to him. He's a fellow native from Cork, like myself. And my God, like we could be here for about an hour describing all the amazing feats and journeys that he's been on with all of his adventures. But to synopsize it, Pat is an explorer. He's a speaker, mentor, coach. He's an author of many books. He has a trilogy there. He's one of the first to guide a team to the South Pole, an Irish team at that. As well as multiple times up Mount Everest, north and south. I can't even do justice to Pat's CV here. You know, it goes on and on. But I'm looking forward to getting into the conversation with you, Pat, because we're all about, you know, when life, you know, we start off thinking we're ordinary and life kind of treats us like ordinary and average and whatever, and then something happens, something shifts within us and something clicks in and we discover the extraordinary within us. And I think your story, your life work is really like going from, like you said earlier, ordinary, extraordinary, ordinary, and back again, like, so pivoting all the time. So Pat, welcome warmly to the show, and just let's get started, go straight into those humble beginnings and in the north side of Cork.
Yeah, well, I suppose I come from Cork, and like you're the same, and I suppose we're a very proud people. But I came from the north side of Cork City, which was an area where we had over 5,000 government houses. We came from the tenements. Okay, there's definitely a vibration. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have a problem with that, I'd say, if we don't hear it. Which?
I think no. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll start again, so will I? Okay.
Go ahead.
So you have a good edit, but I can hear the vibration, and I know it'll come through the whole lot. Yes, Susie, I'm from Cork, the same as yourself, and we're very, very proud people. And you're saying about ordinary to extraordinary. I never actually realized that we were born extraordinary. And at the moment, I'm doing research on children all around the world. When they're born, right, they all come out of the womb and they look around and they're actually extraordinary. And then what happens is, like, each child, no matter who you are, it's like they do the same things. They come out, they crawl, they stand at the same time, they say mama, dad at the same time. The big difference is opportunity. And what I found is that if it's a case you can get opportunity, but more important, if you have mentors, if you have coaches that believe in you, that, in other words, you can actually regain your extraordinary, because our system all around the world is made actually to make us ordinary when we come out, when we're born extraordinary. And I suppose that's the course of my life. I was very lucky. I was born into a family. My grandmother was a matriarch. She had 6 kids. And her husband left her during World War II, and she had to fend for herself. Now, when you're a single mother at that stage, it's bloody well hard, right? So she had to go out to work to earn money for her kids, right? So she actually, you know, reared 6 kids on her own in a time in a poor part of our city, which is called the north side of Cork City. We're called Norries, even the derogatory statement of us being Norries. And from day one, I went to live with her when I was 6, because all the kids left and I was sent down to mind my nan. And now, can you imagine at 6 years of age, like, I thought like I was going to look after my nan. But the first thing she did is she bought me a pram. And she made me go around, and I say made, it was like slave labor at the time, but she was calling me her bar of gold, and I used to collect second-hand clothes from all the other poorer people in our community. And then she sold them for something, you know what I mean? Because we had them for nothing. She couldn't afford to buy them for stock and trade. She sold them, but didn't I have my first collaboration? Now, you can imagine as a child of 6, I didn't even know what a collaboration was. And she put 20% of everything she sold that I collected into the bank for me. It was into a piggy bank first and then down to the bank. And by the time I was 12, now remember this is 1969, I had £750 in the bank. It was pounds at the time, which today, a house was only 4,000, would have been equivalent to 100,000 today. So therefore, I was the poorest. We came from the poorest side of Cork City. And in actual fact, I probably was the richest child in the country. And then it all changed. But what she did for me, and this is very important for people, because loads of people are negative. And when things go wrong, they actually instill that negativity onto their children, onto the people around them, and they become negative as well. But from the day one, my grandmother, taught me to believe in myself, to believe I could do anything. And more importantly, she taught me to be an entrepreneur at a very young age. And to satisfy her, I did exactly what she said. So when I went up to the door and someone chased me away, which was obvious, this poor child coming to collect secondhand clothes. And we were going through an industrial revolution. So people were giving me clothes and they chased me away. And the next week she sent me up to the same people. And eventually, I had about 5,000 customers giving me secondhand clothes on the north side of Cork City. I put them into a pram, a baby's pram. I brought them, it was downhill to the market where my grandmother had a stall. Say, lots of people around the world, you could see the stalls, people that are selling food or selling clothes. And she'd sell them. And she'd go to the marts, the farmers' marts, and she'd sell all the clothes that I would collect. And she put 20% away. But she beat into me from a young child. And this is very important. If you think you can, you will. And if you think you can't, you won't. And you're right on both occasions. So she always said, no matter what you're doing, believe that you can do it. And that was the start of my journey into what did turn out a roller coaster. It had booms, suicide, it had successes beyond my dreams. It had brought me to places, living in that council house in a small box room, right around the whole world, the highest, the coldest, the loneliest, the most remote places in this planet. I have had the chance to work and live with 32 tribes of people, trying to figure out what it is that has driven me and you and everybody that's listening to be the best that we can be, no matter who we are. From the Stone Age tribes in West Papua New Guinea to the Dani, the Lani, the Asmats. And what I have found is that no matter who we are in the world, no matter who's listening here, we are all the same. We love, we hate, we work. And that was the start of what would be, for me anyway, I'm 68 now. And when I'm talking to you, I'm looking at the fact, what would I tell people if I was to look back in life at 68 years of age, the lessons I have learned, the mistakes I have made, and in other words, what I have done differently.
Wow. You never stopped. It feels from the day you took the pram and you headed down to the cold K, you were just on the move. You were always on this sort of a mission in momentum, I read in your bio that you were a millionaire in your 20s, once you kind of got really established with your inner working life, very successful as well by the looks of it. But was that the initial drive? Was it because you come from very little, the desire for more, for better, to increase things? And did it get to the point where when you achieve the million, then what happens then? Is it, because I think it does get taken away again, but but your spirit is still really strong and fiery on the inside. Like, so can you walk us through that part where you reach that that goal and
Well,
what
what I
comes
would
out?
say, that just didn't happen. Like the dream to become a millionaire was something that became purposeful.
Yeah,
Again, what happened, my father had a small business, and by the
yeah,
time I was 15, he went broke, right? A developer called him for a lot of money, right? And he couldn't take the pressure, so he turned to the drink. So by the time I was 15 and my dad had gone broke, I had thought like he was an awful fool without ever realizing the pain and the anguish that he has gone through. And like I had gone through, like I made the same mistakes as my dad, and we're all entitled to make mistakes. But like when you're 15, you don't realize that. But there was a huge turning point that actually drove me like from where I was to have this dream to become a millionaire. And it was simple. There was this worker came to the door, and my mother answered the door. And he said, "Where's Timmy? That's my father." His car was outside the door, but my dad was down the pub. So my mother said, "He's not in." And he wouldn't believe her. He was drunk too. So he kicked the door. And as he kicked the door, my mother fell back, hit her head, and she was unconscious. So now I was inside in the front room, and I came out. And when I seen my mother on the ground, like I was trying to revive her and kill him at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't know what way to move. Like I just caught him and I put him up against the wall. I said, his name was Charlie Gamble, right? And I had him, and if I'm going to kill you, like, you know. And my mother came too, and she said, son, stop, 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 stop. But that actually drove something into me. And sometimes you need a purpose, right? So here my dad now was down the pub. We had a small business. My mother was unconscious. Like she was actually fretting over my dad because she loved him very much. And I decided, that's it. I'm leaving school. I'm going to become a millionaire, and we will never be poor. So from the time I'm 15, and if you take it now, I come from a community that's poor. And I went out and I said, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a millionaire, right? On the purpose that our family would never be poor. So everyone said, who do you think you are? Right? And this is the reason why I believe that when people have a purpose, they're extraordinary. So I left school to become a millionaire without ever realizing what a millionaire was. I'm actually a bricklayer. I started with my dad as a bricklayer, right? And I was saying to everybody, and then people were saying like he's an asshole, right? Who does he think he is? He comes from a poor background. How can he have such dreams like this? I wasn't educated. Like education wasn't my forte, but I was brilliant at sales and I was brilliant with people. And that's what my grandmother had taught me. She also taught me, right, okay, how to become an entrepreneur, right? So by saying it, some people were saying, and in particular in my own community, even my own family said, like, for God's sake, like, you know, you're beyond your station. And we have this thing in Ireland called beyond your station, right? So
Getting ahead of yourself. Yeah.
ahead of yourself, right? And I never forget, and I learned this lesson, and I have mentored football teams, Olympians, and things like that. And what happens is that if you listen to the puzzle that's out there, people telling you you can't, right? My grandmother came up with a great one. She said, son, you're brilliant. Now, I
Yeah.
was voted as a dope in school, right? Okay, that's to be a fool. And that I was dyslexic, probably had ADDH. I probably had a form of autism as well because I threw a bottle of sulfuric acid on top of my teacher's tadpoles when he fired a duster at me. And I know that's a terrible thing to do, but there's a great story in that later about the Christian brother who came to me 40 years later. But she said to me, son, it's none of your business what other people think. It's none of my business what you have a dream. You
Yeah.
have a goal. You actually continue with that, because if you don't, you're changing the course of your life for two reasons. The fear of failure, which I know failure is a learning lesson. It's not failure if you decide to learn, right? And ridicule from these mealy-minded critics that themselves have never got into the arena to sweat blood, sweat, and tears to make a dream, to make a goal a reality purposefully. So I didn't know what a millionaire was. But by saying it, believe it or not, I was a hungry young fella that was probably a bit more ruthless than I should have been, right? I turned into a pussycat like years later, but I was hungry and I was, like had this purpose. Didn't someone actually see the bright light in me? And they gave me a chance when I was 16. And making a long story short, within a year, I was a millionaire.
Wow.
Right? Because I helped him. And life, and this is what I found out, right? If you help others achieve their dreams, goals, and reality, and it happened that this guy was older, and I know I'm older, right? Okay, and I wish someone would come in and take my business and actually, push it forward. So by the time I was 19, I had 200 people working for me. By the time I was 20, I had built a big Georgian house, right? And I had all the monies that you would want to have as a 20-year-old. At this stage, I got married to my girlfriend who I was going out with, Marie, when I was 14. So she's stable in my seat. And the most important thing with things like this, right? If I was to turn around now like this, right? Do you know what I had? I had people that had my back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they believed in me. And they said, okay, we will back you. Like my mother, my father, like at this stage, like who actually, when I was 17, would you credit it? I went to my dad and I was a bit, I don't know whether I can say it, but pissed off, right? But
Yeah.
Here at 17. Now remember, I was only 15 when I left. And I said to Dad, Dad, I don't know, should I go back and go to school like everybody else? And he turned around and gave me a great bit of advice. And it's an advice, like there's a couple of things that I learned in life. Number one, if you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Number two, right, okay, it's none of my business what you think. Like at the moment, I'm trying to set up something that I believe I'll have 1 million members in, right?
Yeah.
People say, but you're 68. And I say, it's none of my business what you think, right? Okay, I'm going to try it anyway. And then I've done this so many times that I've turned things around, right? That people are nearly afraid to tell me now, like I can't do something, right? Anyway, the big thing is, if people have a dream, goal, or aspiration, remember this: it's none of your business what other people think. Because you could be 68 like me now and regret the fact that you haven't followed that dream. And you have a long life in front of you. So don't be afraid of taking the chances and even failing.
True.
Right? So that's two I learned, right? But now here I was at 17 and I was to learn another great one. And that was, my dad turned around to me and he said, son, he said, you're a dreamer. And I goes, I'm a dreamer? He says, you are. He says, you're the biggest dreamer I know. Like who at 15 leaves school to become a millionaire, right? Okay. He said, you're the biggest dreamer I know. But he said, I'm going to give you a life and lesson. He said, dream and dream big. But remember, the following of the dream is where the success lies, not in achieving it. The achieving is the bonus. And this is what I find about the extraordinary.
Yeah.
To being educated to become ordinary, to actually having mentors that think you're extraordinary and they believe in you and you start believing in yourself. And so it's that thing about, if you have a dream, follow it.
Yeah.
But most people don't have a purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like I had a purpose now. And all successful people have a purpose. Like Ramsey, you were saying, when you left your job or when you were let go, right? You ended up like trying to find yourself. You went to Peru, and believe it or not, you lost yourself. And you're not re-identifying who you are. You're a freaking chocolate factory now down there.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka chocolate factory. You are getting involved in new courses. You're building a whole new life. And people are like, a lot of people are baffled to say, like, what in the name of God are you going to Peru for, right? But you're following a dream and you have a purpose. And loads of people, look, I'm going to show you. Like, I'm just going to pretend here, right? I'm standing here and I'm in a box, right? Like this. And people live in this box. all their lives. Now,
Yeah.
what happens is they get frustrated, they get burnt out. And then one day, if you could see what I'm doing now, they put their leg outside the box. And I'm just going to go off screen for a second, right? And they now have the whole world at their feet,
Yeah.
stood outside the box. Most people are afraid to stand outside the normal.
Yeah.
And they also hang around with people in the box.
It's true.
No, from science and from research, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with.
That says a lot to us, doesn't it? Jesus. Yeah, it's true.
So, like, if you look at it, like, if you hang around with positive, focused people, and you become, and you're saying, "Geez, he's only an ordinary guy," like, which we're all extraordinary, but like, look what they've done, right? Okay, and you start becoming part of a tribe. You have it yourselves. You have your
Yeah.
own tribe there, right? Okay. Why are people joining in? Because
Yeah.
they would be part of a tribe, a part of people that are positive, a part of living life to their most, because most people don't. So I'm saying, if it's a case, you have a dream, you have a goal, if you have a purpose, and then if you have a tribe, because what the tribe will do, they'll have your back. When
Exactly.
things go wrong, yeah, my mother gave me this one. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, and the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when funds are low and debts are high, it's then you must not quit. Success is failure turned inside out with a silver tint of cloud of doubt. You can never tell how close you are. It may seem far, but be so near. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when times go tough that you must not quit. Right?
Wow. That is awesome. That is awesome.
So for me, that was kind of the start of my life. The start of my life was becoming part of the tribe. My tribe was my grandmother, was my mom and dad, then became like the people that had my back, was my brothers and sisters, then my girlfriend, right, okay, who became my wife.
Yeah.
Right? That, in other words, be careful of your choices, right? And try to find those people that will have your back and that will support you in the bad times, like my family did when things go wrong. Like, as you said, like, as I said, as they sometimes will. Look, everybody has ups and downs. No getting away from it.
That's
Everybody
it.
listening to this has ups and downs, right? It's the fact that we as human beings are so resilient that people don't believe it themselves, provided that they have a course of attributes, and its attributes is what will make the difference. And I get so excited when I'm talking.
It's infectious.
What?
It's infectious, though. Your excitement is really palpable. Like, it really, it really translates. Like, you can really feel your passion for stuff, like for life. It's mad. Like, the other part, I suppose, when I was reading about your bio, there were, like you said, there were tough times too. Things don't always keep building, and sometimes things crash as well. And it's kind of how you dust yourself off and get back up again. So I was kind of making an assumption then that, I know you went through some tough times too, in terms with your own self-esteem and maybe some mental health issues, like, but how you managed to kind of overcome those challenges at the time, like, and is it true to say that when somebody's already achieved a big goal that they set, say when you're in your late teens or whatever, that when you set the next goal, like, of course you've already got a good track record, you're kind of it's nearly inevitable that you're going to make it, because you kind of have within you the workings to see it through, like to get to the next goal. And if you'd like to go into the bit of that, like how did you get out in nature? Like, how did you awaken in the wild? Like, how did that part kind of touch your soul or wake you up?
Well, I suppose I'd have to go back to the time I tried to take my life through suicide when I was 29. I had lost everything.
Wow.
They were treating me with Prozac. And again, like, I have a huge issue with doctors just issuing Prozac or antidepressants to people just because they feel that they're, like that they're down.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways to treat it. And like what I found is they were treating me with Prozac. Like I never thought I would try to take my life through suicide. Like it's a whole other aspect that we'd be going into mental health, and probably too long to go into it here. But everybody that's out there, everybody, I'll guarantee you, will have gone through anxiety, fear, depression, that at some sort of a level. So everybody has it. And I don't know why sometimes that people like are afraid of talking about it. But for me, what happened is my wife signed a personal guarantee because she had my back, and the banks came after her. And they were going to throw my two kids, which were about 7 and 10 at the time, out of our house. And I felt I was a failure. I had left my wife and my children down. I had now repeated the same mistake my dad had made. I was broke. So to tell you the truth, what happened is one week I couldn't afford to pay the men, and that was the worst thing that could happen in our family, because we would always be honorable, because the banks had pulled the plug, and I decided to take my life through suicide. And on the cusp of it, I was just going into the water. There's a river in Cork called the River Lee, and it was an open wharf, and I was just about to go straight into it. I came up to it at high speed, jammed on the brakes, and I said, oh my God, I see my two kids. And I just stopped within, like, the bonnet was over the wharf. And I went home. I told my wife what has happened. And believe it or not, again, and this is very important, right? She had my back, right? And I often ask people, like, when they're doing things like this, whose back have you? In other words, whose back have I? Right? And I've learned this lesson over my life, like, to have people's back and people have my back. And I've come through more crises in my life, because it's a roller coaster, I told you, and every person's life is a roller coaster. And every person's life, even though I've done a lot of big things, everyone has their own Everest. Do you know what my greatest Everest is now, by the way? After 220 expeditions, living with 32 tribes of people all around the world, have over 50 climbers that I've climbed with that have died. My greatest ambition now, even though I have other, things like the Forever Young, is to become the best grandfather that I can be.
Oh, I love
That's
it.
my Everest. That's my Everest. And like, people say to me, like, what? And I say, yeah, because I wasn't the best father, because like, while I was out there, selfish, driven, right? And this is what I've learned. Like, if I had more balance, like the yin and the yang, maybe, like, I'm separated 36 years, but we still love each other, right? If I had paid more attention to my family at the time, I could have saved that too, because we never stopped loving each other to this day. But she said, Pat, you have so much out in the world, like, that you could have never stayed tied down. And I was free like an eagle to soar around the world and actually complete everything that I had done with, again, the support of my family, the support of Marie, who actually knew she had lost me, like, to this inevitable thing. My own two sons, like, who said, Dad, after I come back from one of my expeditions to the Antarctic, he said, Dad, do you know what you've missed? I was in my 50s at this stage. And I said, what? And he said, parent-teacher meetings, weddings, funerals, all to be who you were, one of the top adventurers and explorers in the world. And they said, look, there's still time. And this is the thing, whether we get a chance to go into it or not, there's always time, as long as we have a breath. We have time to forgive. We have time to forget. We have time to, how would I call it? Make up the mistakes of the past. So my life then, like, took me on a roller coaster, like getting back to when I was 30, right? Because people had my back. And then I saved the house. Like, making a long story short, the guy that got me going first day, I came to him with a brainwave. I'd set up a bank with no money, And he said, you can't do that. It's illegal. Anyway, I did. And I lent him off. And within a year, I was back again, mainly because of the fact I did not want the banks to kick my wife and my kids out of the house. So now what happened is it became purposeful again. And when you're purpose and you're driven, you then actually come up with ideas you could have never thought about, you know, when you were in the height of the shit.
Yeah.
So what happened is, after that suicide attempt, I told my secretary, and I had a few secretaries, one of their fathers came down to me and they had told him, and they said, Pat, will you go hill walking? We're going on, like, this is older people again. And I'm going, like, I'm sitting in a big office, a boardroom, and I'm going, in the name of Christ, will he ever get out? Doesn't he realize, like, his daughter's going to lose her job? And then he says to me, will you come for a walk? And I'm thinking, I'm a workaholic, not a walkaholic. I did. I couldn't afford, I had a Mercedes at the time, like a presumptuous Mercedes, and I couldn't afford to put the petrol in the car. And I met up, never forget it, in our city at a place called the Opera House. I know lots of cities have opera houses. And I sat into a mini car and I paid £2 to go in with 3 other people. And we drove off for the day, and they were all excited. And I was like coming out of depression. I just, oh, what a lovely day. Oh, look at the colors of the sky. And I go, what in the name of fuck are they talking about? Like, you know? I said to myself, Christ, oh, I was a freaking load of nutters. And we came over the county bound, and they said, oh, look at the Pops. That's a mountain in where we were going, into County Kerry, which is called the Kingdom. And I climbed a small mountain called Mangerton. It was only 2,000 and odd feet, or 700 meters. And when I got to the top, I was exhausted. The banks were taking us to court, and I turned to Val and said, what are you doing next week? He said, we're climbing Cairn 2. And that was my Everest.
Wow.
I'll never forget, they brought us to court that week, and I lost 3 nights' sleep thinking of the fact I might die on Cairn 2. And this is where it all changes. Like, I've been up there about 2,500, 3,000 times now, right? And over 30,000 people. This is my kind of gift to people. Like, if you want to do it, down and climb it. And I live now, I'm actually living here beneath 6 of the highest mountains in Ireland out there, right? Just outside my cabin. So I got to the top, and I was so excited. I was jumping up and down like this. I was so excited. Can you imagine? Like, I achieved my Everest. And then Val was saying, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Are you okay, boy? And I said, yes. And I shook his hand, and he turned around. He said to me, what's wrong? And I said, Val, I got it. I'm going to climb Mount Everest.
Wow. In that moment.
I was so excited. I didn't know, like, being a millionaire either, right? What I have to do to climb Everest. But it was the biggest thing. I was on the top of a mountain. It was my Everest at the time. And I picked the biggest mountain in the world. And as my dad said, dream and dream big. But remember, it's in the following of the dream is where the success lies. And I went on a journey.
Wow.
And the journey still hasn't stopped. 220 expeditions later, lived with 32 tribes. You know, learned a lot about religions. I was illiterate. And people are saying, like, how could he do all this now and was illiterate? I was illiterate till I was 30, even though I had 200 people working. And then I learned I had all these stories pumped up inside me. And I said, do you know, I'm going to put this down. Right? 7 books since. My last film that I actually produced went out to about 72 million people.
Wow.
I've spoke to hundreds of thousands of people. Like I've been with Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, you know, like Michael Dooley, all the top speakers in the world, you know, following my story and bringing out the positivity that people can have. And people say, why? You know why?
Yeah.
Because it's a legacy. If I can actually help one person, even that's listening to this tonight, right? I've achieved a goal, right? So my legacy, and you know, like we're listening here, but like there's someone else going to be listening to this, I don't know
Yeah.
who they are, but that energy is like a rocket up my backside, right? Give my best to help others achieve what they want to achieve. Because I have no more, like I don't have anything purposefully at this stage other than to help others achieve their dreams, goals, and aspirations. And it's that what gives me the energy.
I have a question for you.
Mhm.
You mentioned that purpose is the key to extraordinary, or the path to extraordinary. And there are a lot of people who can't find a purpose. And from the stories that you just told us, I picked up something, and I'm not sure if I'm correct at it. Do you believe that your positivity that actually sprouted your purpose every stage of your life?
Well, I think when you're in trouble, right, and it doesn't have to be the trouble I was in, that sometimes it will spur you on, because the one thing human beings have is resilience. Like if you look at all the people in Gaza at the moment, or you look at the people that's been bombed, or you look at poverty in the world, these people, no matter how shitty life is, right, they're surviving. And their purpose is to survive. Like my purpose was like to survive, but the purpose was like it hurt someone else, and I just was angry to fulfill it. But what makes people fulfill their ambitions or dreams, and remember this, you don't have to climb a mountain, you don't have to be a millionaire, you just have to be the best that you can be. My philosophy is Buddhism. I'm a Catholic by religion, and I'm agnostic in belief, right? My mother used to call me a cowardly Catholic, because like when people die around you, like that died with me, like the minute like I nearly died 2 or 3 times, and I go, oh Mary, please get me out of here, right? And I'll never ever do this again, like. And I know lots of people do it, then they go away, like, and then they forget all about it and they go back again. But the thing with success is, when we talk about like I got asked loads of questions. I don't know what I want, right? I don't have a purpose, right? And like simply, like my philosophy is not going to fit every genre, every person in the world. It'll fit a lot, right? But some people will think I'm talking out my ass, right? And that's fair enough. But again, I'm going to say this, it's none of my business what they think, if I believe what I'm doing is right. So what makes people succeed is attributes. Do you know there's a menu to success? Like I could ask everybody out there what they want.
Yeah. What's your Everest?
It could be a better job. It could be to, make a better living. It could be to be better than what they are now. It could be that I want to be happier. I guarantee if I sit with someone, they do have something they want, right? And what you want is a purpose. But then people don't know how to get it. People say to me, but how do you get it?
Yeah.
It's not easy. But you want me to give you the secret of how to get it? Yeah. I just want you to think about what you want, right? And I'm going to give you the secret my mentors have given me. And this is what we have on these platforms. We have the ability to talk, and people can listen or not listen, or believe or not believe, But remember, we're doing this because we want to help others achieve. And hopefully our stories, whether your story, my story, or whoever else I'm talking to, right, works. But I want to ask you, what do you want, right, in life? For me, as I said, to become the best grandfather that I can be. And I think it's one of the hardest things that I could do, but I can do it if I have these attributes, right? You can do anything that you like if you have these attributes. And again, my mother gave it to me. Do you want that?
Come on. We want the attributes. Spit them out.
And see, does it work, right? Here goes. If you want something bad enough, you must go out and fight for it. You must give up your time and your peace and your sleep for it. If your life seems so lonely and useless without it, but all that you do is you dream and you plan is about it. If gladly you fret for it and sweat for it, then go for it. But you must go for it with all of your capacity, your strength and tenacity. If you simply go after the things in life that you want, though tired, gaunt and lonely, and if day after day you besiege and beset it. Do you know Ramsey? Do you know Susie? If you do that, you will get it. Guaranteed. Most people don't want to do all of that, right? So, and that's okay. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
then be happy with what you have, right? But if you want something that you really, really want, and if you have these attributes, because life is about attributes.
But where does happiness come in, like, and fulfillment? You know, like sometimes we're kind of fed a bit of a bum steer because you're kind of, well, in Ireland anyway, growing up, it was like, you know, you had to get a house and a car, and you know, there was so many things you had to try to kind of achieve in life, but it wasn't a guarantee whether that would make you happy. Like you'd maybe find a wife or have a child or whatever your thing was. But like that's not always like when I look at it, I think about purpose in life. I think everybody's kind of wired for their own unique purpose and their own unique path and their own unique kind of signature, you know, flavor. I think everybody has that, like in within their extraordinary kind of potential. And for me personally, it's been like going really, really quiet, getting really still and really silent is when the inspiration kind of wakes up within me. And then I'm like, whoa. And something will come a bit like you, like, oh, I want to go here and do this thing, or I want to go to Bhutan, or I want to see the tiger's nest, or it could be just a vision like that. And it comes to you and you're like, okay, I don't always know how to go after it. I don't always know, but I just feel like if I stay in a sort of a certain level of resonance, it almost comes to me. You know, did you find that, like, you know, once you'd kind of set the sight on Everest, it was like, you know, you're opening your own doors, your own kind of pathway starts to emerge in front of you. Synchronicities happen, you know, just spontaneous kind of things can come your way, and you're in a kind of state of readiness or preparedness to see them when they show up, like, and it's not like you're brutally running up the hill like blindly. Like I feel like some of it is very slow as well, and you have to get that kind of balance, is what I would feel like. Would you concur?
I concur completely. Like like you just said about Bhutan, it's actually I brought into companies to talk about retention, right? Do you know like that there's a research at the moment to say 80% of people don't like working where they're working?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
the big problem is that it's called happiness, right? So the first thing that you have to find is this happiness within you, right? And if I was to ask a question here now to everybody that's out there, right? How happy are you right now? I will get percentages back from everything from 20% to 80%, right? Happiness is the most important thing. And as I said, it doesn't have to have a new car. It doesn't have to have a big house. It doesn't have to have your happiness, your happiness. Your best is your best. You know, and I tell the story like about Special Olympians, right? Okay, that trained for 4 years. And like what makes people happier is when you have contribution, you know, and when you're contributing, this is when you feel your happiest. But the big thing is most people, right? And I'm not going to ask you, but like I know your subconscious thinks of 440,000 thoughts a second. Your conscious is only thinking of 40. If I was to ask you now, like how happy you are, your answer is already there, right? And it could be that you worked on it to become happier, but like a lot of people are down at 50%.
Wow.
Glass half empty. I was with a very wealthy person that recently in Monaco, very, very wealthy, and I asked him how happy he was, 20%. So it doesn't matter how wealthy you are. If it's a case that you're not fulfilled in who you are, and as you know, the gross national product in Bhutan is not measured by money, it's measured by happiness. So like if you
Indeed.
were to ask me, like I can answer this question, how happy I am now in my life at 68, carrying a couple of health conditions, I would say I'm 98% happy. In the Buddhist
Wow.
philosophy, I'm nearly in nirvana, right? And I'm nearly in nirvana because I have lived my life authentically. Most people don't
Yeah.
live their life with authenticity, right? They're bullshitting half the time, right? So when we can
Agree.
actually mentors and coaches, like, and this is what I love about what I do. And like I have my own coaches and mentors too, even still to this day, because I see the importance of actually, like when I have a question, I'll actually ask a person that has more experience than I, or if I have a problem, I will actually go to somebody that will have, give me an answer that I might be able to, that I'd be 2 years trying to figure out instead of like 1 hour, right? So,
Yeah.
but if I was to be honest, and like it's very hard to get the grounding of me within a 1 hour podcast, right?
That's true.
But all I have to tell people is I'm a person that loves helping people. And in the helping of people is what makes me happy. Like I go to Africa now, I do Kilimanjaro, I have people there, like, I've had over 2,000 people on the summit. And people say, but why are you doing it? Like, isn't it doing the same thing? I said, what do you do for work every day? When I work with people, they want to get, this is their Everest. They get to the top, they're smiling, they're exhausted, they've given it everything they can. And I'm part of their success, right?
Yeah.
People remember that in the future when they said, I was out with this mad fellow, Pat Falvey. In one way, people call me eccentric, mad. Like there's lots of difference what people call me, like, and it's like, am I a self-published? I am a self-published, right? Okay. And I can't help doing that because to get to where I am, I have to be because no one else ever gave it to me.
Yeah.
So, but my excitement is seeing other people achieve their goal. And I learned this again from another lesson, right? Special Olympics, 8 kids trained 4 years to win gold, silver, and bronze. Like you often work, like get your chocolate factory going, like you work your ass off, right? Okay. And it's going to go ahead or it's going to fail. But at the same time, like you've tried it, and if it's a case, it's going to succeed, you're going to be flying. But everybody, like, say, if we were 8 people at the Olympics, we'd all train for 4 years to win gold, silver, and bronze. But more especially, like, this is what a lesson, like, that special kids have given, right? 4 years at the starting line, on your marks, get set, go, bang! And they took off down the line, and one little girl fell. Now, you can imagine, like, I don't know whether you have kids or not. I have like two grand, I can see it. And everyone went, oh my God, this is terrible. She just lost her dream, right? To win gold, silver, or bronze. But immediately, the second last little girl stopped. And what did she do? She went back and picked her up.
Oh, wow. Nice.
The whole audience was crying, right? But within megaseconds, the other 6 stopped. 4 years' work. They all forfeited their gold, silver, and bronze. And they went back and they picked up the 2 children. And then they proudly linked hands and they walked down the 100-meter dash, across the winning line. And
Wow.
or not, they had to make a decision to give them all a gold medal.
Wow.
Now, someone had to come first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. And the big thing about it is, as I'm looking out here, every one of us, you and I and all those people out there, are different.
Yeah.
We all have different abilities, different levels of what the knowledge we have. But what I have learned is that the satisfaction is when we work together, like those Olympians, and this is what we've lost in the world today, our ability to be empathetic, to actually realize that we are a world of people like that dream, that have, and like, so what's happening is they taught a lesson, right, okay, to the fact that working together and being part of a unit, you can achieve a lot more than you can as an individual. Was there going to be a winner there? Yes, there was. Was there going to be yes, there was. Was there going to be a third? But what I'm saying to you is this is what governments, This is what clubs, this is what families have lost, our ability to come across that winning line together. And these podcasts that you're doing about the ordinary and extraordinary, this is trying to get across that, yes, we are all extraordinary, but we have different abilities.
Yeah.
In a world that we live in today, if we could put all the world together, like to have a purpose of unity, no wars, no killing, we could be a far better place instead of actually being all up against each other, killing each other. You know, greed is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Ramsey, go on. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm good.
Oh yeah, no, I was just thinking about that. Like, you know, Ramsey in previous episodes talked about like being in a war zone as a young fella himself, like, and kind of how that dream came to you. You know, that's what I was just thinking about. How, you know, even when everybody was telling you haven't a hope, it's not going to happen. Like, you just believed it. You kept seeing it like your dream, and lo and behold, you ended up, you know, emigrating or to Canada, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna bring out. So you pulled that out of me. Yeah. So once you put your dream out there and you want it, you can achieve it. Even if you don't have money, you're in a war-torn country, you can barely eat for the day or whatever it is, you could achieve it at the end of the day if you just go for it. And that's your full focus.
Yeah,
but what I just want to ask one question there. So, because this is the bit that I think it's juicy and I'm really interested in it. It's like, it's the vision. The vision comes to you, the inspiration comes, whether it's Everest or whether it's, you know, you going to Canada or whatever. It's like, is it like something that just keeps niggling at you and it's like a bubble, like it starts off like, say, a small seed, but it starts to bubble, and the more attention you give it, the more it starts to maybe grow and become something, and it becomes more achievable, the more, like, what has to happen there for that seed to develop to reach that goal or to achieve that dream, you know, within yourself?
Well, for me, you step outside the box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You must believe that you can achieve it, and that if you can't achieve it, you've got to try. And if you fail, at least you fail trying. And then you can get on with your life. Like, to me, I have a big thing about what's next, and I never know what's next. I just actually go from one thing to the other. I remember Jerry Ryan. He's a famous RT presenter. He's dead now. Like, when I got to the poll, he said, "How did you feel?" And I was so excited. He says, "But like, what in the name of God possesses you to go out like for 60 days in conditions of -20 to -60, not a thing in sight?" And you said a while ago, like, we all have our different things. Someone can do it under a tree, like Buddha, right? I'm like probably highly energized, right? So sometimes I have to quieten. So like a lot of the big expeditions was to take me into places where I like that I be with myself. So he said to me, "What were you looking for?" And I said, "I was looking for God." Right? I was looking for who Pat Falvey really is. But when I'm in, like, among, like, if you look at it, like, we're across the world together now, and we're actually like these radio waves are going all over the place, like they're flying through this room as I stand at the moment, right? And so I had to get peace to get away from all of those. So I picked the likes of Antarctica, 60 days on the ice, and I became with myself. And every now and then I go away, and sometimes you have to be at that peace, right? I never forget the question he asked me. He said, "What were we looking for?" I said, "I was looking for God, like, you know, like for joy in my life," right? And he said, "Did you find him?" I said, "I did." And he said, "Who was he?" I said, "It's me. I'm also the devil. I'm also the worst curse to myself." And I said, "What I have found is that I'm the good and the bad.
Yeah.
I have the joy and the misery, and literally I'm in control of it, you know, myself. provided that I can find it and I can sit with it. Like loads of anxiety comes from the fact of people not being able to sit with what's happening, right?
Yes.
When you can sit with what's happening, we as human beings, this brain inside here, right, okay, is more powerful than any computer. It's definitely more powerful than Google, right?
Maybe not ChatGPT, but
maybe not ChatGPT, but I have a philosophy about the fact that outside the fact of being an agnostic, a Buddhist, and a Catholic, right, I also have this thing with that we're connected to superhuman race. I was asked to write a book on it. I was offered $150,000 to write it because they say, oh, you're Irish, and it's like an Anna philosophy, and like if you start spouting it, like people will believe it because you have such passion, right? But I believe like that when I go to bed at night, like I would have been categorized by my teachers as a dope, right? And it was like, and my grandmother presented me one time, she put me in front of JFK and she said, see that guy up there, you're as powerful as JFK, when I was only 12. So I believed her instead of believing the teachers, right? But I go sometimes, and it's like I tap into a frequency away out there and I get the information downloaded to me. It's a lot bigger than that, because like we're now going into religion, belief systems and everything else. But I believe like that a lot of the stuff that I have found out about myself is coming from somewhere. I don't know where it's from, right? But it's like downloading when I go to bed at night. Like my staff sometimes says to me, they said, you never stop working, and then you come in the morning and you have and you have the answers, right? So if I have a problem, it's like the mobile phone. It's like asking Google, what do I do about this? It's freaking downloaded. I get up the following morning, like, and I say, right, let's go. And we're on to the next project or the next thing, or but turning all of this around, right? I'm just trying to actually say to people out there, I'm 68. Everyone that was born on the same time as I was, 50% of them will be dead by the time they're 80. 50% will be geriatrics. That's just not me spoofing, that's a fact. And even after that, there's not much left. So I'm saying to people out there, don't wait. Like I've had people die like in their 50s. I have 50 climbers that have died like between 30 and 50. Then once you get, like, we're a stat. That's all we are. I'm a stat. Right? In the Crean pancreas tumor at the moment, right? I don't know where the fuck I'm going, like, you know, like next year, right? But at the same time, I'm fighting it, right? Okay. But the most important thing in life is to live every day.
Yeah.
My dad said that to me. He said, son, he said, you're going to get one life, and your percentage in our contribution to the planet is about 0.00 and 30 noughts. That's how significant you are, and I am, to this whole contribution of our planet. And we're only here for that small time. So why should we be aggressive? Why should we actually be killing people in wars, right? It's ridiculous. No, I know it'll always go on, because basically human brain, like, or some people, like I was saying about heaven and hell, right?
Yeah.
Some people are the devil and God. When I say God, you know, nice people like that are, and you have every kind of category in between that. So if we say like Putin was the devil, right? Mother Teresa could have been like the angel, right? But like we have everything, like, and every kind of contortion, like, and nobody is perfect. There's none of us have gone through this life without making mistakes, without actually hurting other people. But as we get older, we realize that we can be better.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guarantee you this. I'm setting up for every young club. I hope to have 1 million members, right? That it's all about living your best life. Being the best that you can be. It doesn't matter whether you're like a truck driver, a laborer, but just actually, if that's where you are, find your being the best that you can be at that.
Yeah.
Right? live your life happily. I went to companies like, and you just wouldn't believe what's happening. Like they're not like, and by the way, most of it, and I'll just say this in passing, right? Most of it isn't the companies that are the problem; it's the management.
Okay.
Leave companies because of management, yeah, because people don't know how to treat people anymore. People don't know. They've ignored the fact of what happened with those Special Olympians, right? Working together to make, people happy. We've never gone through such an area in our life, like where people are, like when I say mental health is a contribution of what society is putting upon us. Now you will have, of course, a certain amount of clinical depression, right? But in reality, a lot of people, I was going to say ordinary people, because I still think we're all extraordinary. A lot of people are put under so much stress, right? It could be from their jobs, their family, their home, that sometimes, like, if people have your back, it can actually change a lot. My biggest contribution in companies is to go in and find where the happiness is. And I say to people, you're not happy, jack up, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, yeah, but like we can't. And then I try to find the positive, because they can find all the negatives. Why can't you pack up? Because we're being paid good, right?
Yeah.
What would you do if you actually jacked in the morning? Well, we wouldn't know what to do, right? That's fair enough, right? Okay, you don't know what to do. So that's another positive. Like, and then you have friends, and then it's like, and a lot of the time we find that people are unhappy because they're not respected within their jobs.
Yeah.
Managers are, wasters, or sometimes like it would be that they're just too hard. And this is what companies are coming around to now. Like, we got to train our people to be empathetic, authentic, and to make our workforce, but not only our workforce, but our families, our people happier. Like, Ramsey, I only talked to you for a few minutes, but whatever decision you made is making you happier. If I go back 3 years ago and I was to say how happy you were probably 40%.
Definitely.
And if I was to say now, how happy are you? What would you say?
Over 90.
Over 90. And that's all because you made decisions and you weren't willing to put up the crap of being 40% happy or 20% happy, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're a far happier person. Now you're probably earning a lot less.
Earning nothing yet, but yes.
Yeah. So the thing with it is that happiness is a very important thing. And look, you'll never get the whole context of what we're speaking about here in an hour, right? Because, of course, some of the things I will say, like, people have loads of questions, and you can ask me anything. I'm completely open with my life in an authentic way. If I don't like what you say, I go, piss off, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, but,
But where did what I want to know, Pat, is I want to just segue into the Forever Young Club. You were inspired, and it's for people once they get past the old 50, that midpoint. And I remember when I met you down at your mountain lodge, you were showing me videos, like people just getting out in nature, people getting those endorphins. Like, what is happiness? It's serotonin, it's oxytocin, it's a cocktail, like, and it's an inside job to produce that cocktail within ourselves to have those feelings of ananda, of bliss, of joy, of just joy because the sun came up again today, or the moon did, or whatever. Like, so joy just for the sake of being alive, and the feeling that comes within that. So with the Forever Young Club, is it like to kind of bring up that life in people again, so that as opposed to kind of going down one path, you're taking them on a different one? Or can you give us a bit of how did that come about?
What I'll give you for a start, right? Okay. The Forever Young Club is about movement.
Yeah.
Right? Most people like and a movement with connection, right? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like, I've had a 27 stone woman, like, that followed some of my stuff when we've done a pilot test on this, and she never got up off her couch, right? And like when she started at first, she'd sit in front of the thing like, and she'd be looking at me like this, right? And I'm looking and I'm saying, what's that woman doing in there? And she came to every single event that we had online, right? And came to the conclusion it was getting her to do 10 steps, 20 steps, 40 steps. She walked around the house, she went upstairs, right? So it's not actually like to have people do huge amount of stuff. But as she started oxygenating, what she found herself within the community, she was identifying other people. So she was actually lonely. Like it came up afterwards, she was 20% happy in herself because she felt alone. And loneliness is one of the worst things that can happen to people as we get older. Because like your husband dies, wife dies, and even if you're doing stuff, you have friends that are not doing the same stuff anymore, right? So this is a community of people of all levels, not actually that go climb Kilimanjaro, but all levels, to become part of a tribe that will actually use movement as part of their therapy, right? I have a big saying here, and like this is not a saying like if it's a case you're clinically depressed or if you're diagnosed other ways, right? Like I speak on mental health all around the world about the difference between being self-esteem depressed or being lonely depressed. You know, like to get out of the lonely depression, right? Okay, you just have to actually associate with people, right? And as we get older, like our cortèr goes down and down and down. So by opening up the cortèr, we can make more friends and actually become part of the community. But it's like it's my legacy piece to the world to help people actually find themselves in movement, right? To find amazing stories. Like I met these 10 people out walking up in Newcastle. This is in Northern Ireland here in Europe. And I come along and I said, this woman is old. I said, oh, how are you going? And she goes, oh, we're going great. And she knew who I was. I don't know how she knew that, but she said, oh, Pat, we're great. And I said, what age are you? Well, she says, I'm 85, you know, but I'm not the oldest. And I'm going, what? So I went around and asked everyone. They were all 86, 87. There was about 1.9 million hits on Facebook on this particular one. And I turned around to her and I said, you know, what's the secret? And she said, getting out. Just even go for a walk. It was just a walk out in nature, could be on a beach. And she said, we've been together now for 20 years, you know, Pat. And I said, my God. And she said, not alone that now, but when we're finished, we go down to the pub and we'll have a glass of Guinness. Right? Oh God, tonight, like, what a spirit.
Yeah.
And I actually also met, this is how it all started. I was doing a big mountain in the Himalaya, and I was coming out by a monastery called Tengmosha Monastery, one of the highest Buddhist monasteries. And this guy was coming towards me, and he was like with a Zimmer, like a stick like this, and he was going, and I got, God, he's old. And I said, come here. I said, do you speak English? He said, I do. He was from Wales. And I said, what age are you? He said, I'm 86. I said, like I have a load of these ones done. And he goes, I goes, what? I said, can I talk to you inside in the monastery just to see, like, you're out here in the Himalayas with 30-year-olds who be telling me they're too old to go, you know? And then I went in, and this group followed them in. And this woman sat down alongside of him. And her name was Jane. He was John. And she went away, and I said to John, John, who's your one? I think like that's my Irish lingo. I said, who's your one? And he said, that's my girlfriend, Pat. I said, what? Your girlfriend? You're 86? He said, yeah. And I said, where'd you meet her? He only started hill walking or walking when he was 65. He was a coal miner. When he was 70, she joined. She was a teacher. And she actually went out with him. And for the next 15 years, she planned a trip for 3 months every year. They both, even though they were living together when they were away. like, I did have the question in my mind, like, what were they doing together? That's my dirty mind now. But anyway, the thing was this.
But like
When,
they still had the energy for whatever they were doing anyway. It's the main thing. Like, so we don't run out of steam. Like, we
no,
just
no,
run out of fucking sorry for cursing. We run out of inspiration. We run out of like belief in ourselves that life can be extraordinary up to the very end, and whatever that is, whenever that is, like.
yeah, and I think that this is like what I want to bring across, like that these people were moving. And
Yeah.
and the people up in Newcastle, they were just moving. And
Nice.
what I do know is that the fitter we can keep ourselves, the faster we die. Now there's a contradiction.
Yeah, how is that?
But we die at the same time that we're supposed to die. And I learned that from my dad. My dad, like, when he got into his 80s, was going around in a Zimmer frame, even go to the toilet. But he said, son, if I was actually fitter, younger, I'd keep going longer, right? And die fast. He died at the same time. But the thing with it is, we have a whole philosophy within the Forever Young Club, and we're trying to get people all around the world, like facilitators like yourselves, to take their own people, like, and to build it, because I can't build it on my own. I'm just it's going to take, like, I see practitioners all around the world that have people that are not happy, they're in trouble, and what I want to do is to spread it before I die myself, because I'm in the law of averages now, like, conditions. I'm 68. Like, will I get to 80? I don't know, but like, one of the things I want to do is to help others live a happier life, a more contented life. Because when we inspire others at our age, as even a 50-year-old, a 40-year-old will follow, a 30-year-old will follow, and they say, oh my God, like, we want to become part of this particular tribe.
It is about that. It's about making the connections, finding a tribe, and breaking free of the box that we kind of got lost in and locked into. Like, a bit like, you have to move to get out of that box. Ultimately, you won't get out of the box by doing the same thing over and over. That's just a sign of madness. Like, so I have I wanted to segue in, so I'm aware of the time as well, and we've gone a bit over, but I think it was worth it to have the conversation we've had. Is like we're talking about awakening in the wild. We're talking about movement. We're talking about, getting your endorphins going in nature and communing with nature. Like, from an Ayurvedic perspective, what I study is like nature is what brings us back into balance. Time barefoot on the earth, or under the moon and stars, hands in the dirt, or hands on the mountain or in the sea or wherever you are, like. And that's really, nature will bring us back into that balance and wholeness. And that's what holiness is. It's that we're well-being, our well-being springs from that. Like, so we want to bring it, like, I bring groups all around the world. We do lovely retreats, we spend time in nature, we do all of that stuff. And I'm excited because my next group is coming down to where Pat is right now, which is the Mountain Lodge in Beaufort, in near the Gap of Dunlow in Kerry. And I'm excited because we're going to kind of combine things that I'm passionate about, which is meditation, a bit of yoga, a bit of Ayurveda, just kind of basics from a lifestyle point of view, in a location that is absolutely inspirational, like, in the mountains, in your backyard, basically. Like, so that invitation is there for people to come along, see, dip your toe in, you know what I mean? It's not a massive commitment. It's a couple of days. Get in and give it a go. See if you can find that tribe, feel that support from all of the beautiful practitioners that we have working with us. And then, see if we can build it a bit like your Forever Young Club. I have a vision of bringing this group then eventually, maybe by the end of next year, to Mount Kailash in Tibet to do 3 days.
Yeah.
3-day Kora. And I think once you have a vision, I'm guessing this is how it worked for you, Pat. Like, you set your sights on, whether it was the South Pole or, Everest or whatever. And you have to kind of build then to that. And as you said, it doesn't have to be that either. But for me, the Kailash kind of idea is what's kind of keeping me moving, basically. Like, so any tips or, you want to share with anybody, because I'm going to share this with all the people that are interested in that trip,
Well,
for sure.
I think like one of the main questions is happiness, right? So I would say to people, try to benchmark that somewhere, right? And then if it's a case you need help to find happiness, right, look for it. Because once you find it, and you only have one life, everything else will turn into insignificance, right? Some people will want to travel. And look, I've had all type of people, like in all type of conditions, right? Okay, from very severe conditions to handicapped and things like that. The main thing is to accept our authentic self, right? And then find happiness within this. There's no use in actually looking for what other people have. It's what you need and what you're going to get. And I would say to people, like, have a mentor, have a coach. If it's a case you need something that you haven't got yourself, find that person, right? But also don't find someone that has written a book, just written a book that actually talks from a book. Like, find someone like that has walked the walk, not talked the book.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there. I get people onto me every day to tell me like that they can help me, and I ask them what I have done. And they've copied Covey or they've copied someone else like that. And next, all of a sudden, they're experts in mindset and they're expert in like everything else, right? Okay. And they're not authentic. But when you're looking for people to get help from, go to people that have walked the walk, not and are authentic. There is a difference between authenticity and someone that's just like to tick a box. And I'd say, again, it's the attributes. If you can get the attributes for what you want, have passion, desire, commitment, focus, want, and follow it. And don't be afraid of failure.
I suppose.
Failure is only a learning tool. Just because something went wrong doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Grasp both hands and say, like, what can I do better? Like, I've went up the ladder so many times and I've fallen back down, but I've never had to start at the bottom. I can come in halfway up. The learning process will bring you higher on that ladder. And I suppose the thing with is, yes, we're really excited to have you here at the Mountain Lodge and the people that you're bringing. It's absolutely a fantastic therapeutic place. Like, when I bought it first, you can imagine, like, I actually I live in a place with energy. I'm talking about energy in the ground, energy in the air, energy in the sky. I live in what we call the kingdom of Kerry. Like, I always contend that, even though I'm a Cork person, that when God created the kingdom, like, heaven was full and he sent me down here so that I'd be happy in the kingdom of heaven. So I'm in the kingdom anyway. And I'm excited about helping others achieve their dreams, goals, and aspirations. So I just say, look, well done. I haven't met you before, Ramsey, but I see your story. I know tonight you're asking me questions, but like, I have so many questions to ask you that we do another podcast on reverse.
Right? I think so, yeah. It'd be great. We should definitely.
I can ask you the questions, because by speaking to people like you and getting out like this, I'm learning all the time too. You never stop learning.
Absolutely, yeah. Agree.
Absolutely. Well, we better wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And for our listeners who ever want to see or hear Susie cuss again, please like and follow us on YouTube. And we'll see you all next week. We have next week a guest who is very dear to us. Her name is Suzanne Temple. The thing will be out before the end of this week, and you can read all about it and join us next week, Thursday. I think it's going to be earlier next week also because of her timing. But thank you all for being with us today. Susie, any word before we click
Yeah, I
on
just
it.
want to say a huge thank you to Pat. I really have massive respect for you as a fellow Cork person. You know, such an inspiration for all of us. I'm really, really grateful. It was very kind of, you know, your flexibility to jump in and do this evening. I really, really take my hat off to you and thank you from my heart. Thank you, Ramsey, for jumping back in and making this happen. I really appreciate it. I love it.
My pleasure. Okay, Pat, we'll see you
Okay,
behind
and thank you,
the
gratitude, and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.